Like that. Okay, look. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you all. Welcome to those watching the video. It's good to see you. I've got installment number 2 of our Advent series, Making Preparations. Simple title, but last week we talked about how do we prepare our congregation, the building, our language, our attitudes for different groups of people. Last week it was primarily folks with mobility issues, but we expanded it to cover any kind of disabilities. How welcoming are we? Can we do some improvements? Can we make some more preparations? It was a good conversation. I thought we had,
I'm less
Hey.
late than usual.
that we were able to talk about physical stuff. We're gonna do the checklist that we had, the accessibility checklist, and the last of the 4 Sundays for this. We have the social statement on, we pull that out, the social statement on people living with disabilities. This one, I added that.
Movie.
What's that?
So we saw a movie.
See a movie. Pastor Brian Krause, who has cerebral palsy, who I thought some very good food for thought for us as well. And we talked about the language we use even too. Like, you say something is lame, well, maybe that isn't the best word to say, and how conscious are you all the time? Or and the main point was make a relationship with and listen to folks with a disability and find out what they need, if anything. So this week we have another group to consider, and all that same stuff applies. So we're gonna read some Bible passages. We're gonna stretch our imaginations a little bit. I don't have a video this week, but I do have some more resources and websites to show. But this week I want us to consider families, especially families with children and youth. Most congregations in our denomination and a lot of other denominations are aging. They're getting older. The average age is probably in the 60s. Yeah, a lot of them. And so it's not just one place. It's not just one denomination. It's happening in a lot of places. And so I can't tell you how many conversations I have that touch on this everywhere I've served, including here, of folks telling about when they were kids, how full it was and all the things they did, about when their kids were in church and how you brought them to Sunday school and you did things together like VBS. And I heard that the Synod events like Winter Celebration needed 2 weekends because there was too many to be in one. There might be 300-400 people there. We had 100 people, and that was pretty good post-COVID. But it's not just COVID. It's a trend that's been happening. Even the youth gathering used to be 2 separate weeks to accommodate all the people. Not anymore. Even if 2 or 3 cycles ago, it was maybe 25,000. This time it was 16, right? Again, some of it's from COVID, not all. But folks will say, well, I brought my kids to Sunday school, I brought my kids to vacation Bible school, confirmation, youth group, all the things. But if you talk to most folks, there's not a lot of folks your age, well, in church. There's not even as many folks your parents' age in church.
That's right.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. And we'll talk about it a little bit, but that's not the goal here, is to explain that, because it is. And there are a lot of factors. There's things like, have you heard of the Mickey Mouse year? So if this is the church, here's the youth ministry. Like, it's attached, but definitely separate. That was the model for a long time. And then there was the expectation of, and then they'll just join in when it's over. Wow. There's a lot of folks that just picked up on hypocrisy. There was a sort of a mentality of, well, just keep doing what we're doing and the cycle will perpetuate. Well, the world shifted, other attitudes shifted. There's no one reason. There's a lot of reasons. And a lot of congregations want to just go back to what they did before because it worked before. Or they want to do sort of the Field of Dreams approach. Well, if we build it, they will come. If we build the program, the event, the perfect thing, that'll reboot it, and that's proven not to be the case either. There are some congregations that are, adding on. There's one called the Chapel down by where I live. Maybe you've seen some of the stickers. I don't know what the ones up here are, but there's really, really big congregations. But they have a different model than what a lot of our denominations have. They have more of the, and I'm not disparaging this, it's just different, but worship is more like a concert with motivational speaking. And that can seem very entertaining. And they've got maybe really good small group ministries and a lot of that. The flip side, a lot of the time, not all the time, is the theology for a lot of these congregations is a lot more rigid. Believe this way or you're going to hell.
Yeah, right outside of the.
Believe this, or maybe that's too harsh, but there is a lot of prosperity gospel. Do these things, pray this way, believe this way, and life will go well for you. If life isn't going well for you, well, clearly you're doing something wrong. That's part of what Luther was pushing
Well,
back.
I think when I've seen some of them, their dogma is not very deep, so they're personality based. In other words,
Exactly.
because the minister, if he's brought down or
Yeah.
moves on, it just folds up overnight.
Yeah.
And again, please hear me. Please hear me. These are broad, sweeping generalizations, right? But some of it is like that. Some of it is feel good, but then if life gets complicated, if you find yourself in the gray between the black and the white, then those questions aren't handled well. I know somebody who was going through a divorce who was in a uh, more of this style of congregation, and the response wasn't, "Oh, I'm hearing the things that you had to live through for 25 years. I'm so sorry." The response was, "Well, you need to fix this. What did you do wrong? What do you need to do to make it right?" Like
Yeah.
there, and then that started the domino effect of, well, this doesn't feel very supportive. This doesn't feel like a loving place. I'm feeling like I'm being judged when I'm hurting, and maybe the other person involved is too, but it was, no, just put things back the way they were. So like this, I've told this story before too. I'll stop talking in a minute, but I've told this story before too. Um, we had a chance to visit Namibia, which is a country just northwest of South Africa. It had also been under apartheid. Large Lutheran presence there, three big denominations. Um, the majority of the country is Christian, the majority of the Christians are Lutheran. Um, and there was a pastor we met who had a 2-point parish. One was in the town, the suburbs, modest, nice church. The other one was a shanty church in the shanty town. And it had cardboard walls with bottle caps for washers so the nails wouldn't punch through, and it had, the corrugated metal roof, and it had, borrowed secondhand pews and things like that. Now, on our way to go visit that church, we passed in the middle of all these shanties this giant brick church, which was really out of place. And then we asked our guide, the pastor, about it, and he said, well, that's the whatever it was, Pentecostal or something like that church. They're actually promising people that if they do this and that, they'll get out of the shanties, they'll get rich again. If you do this XYZ, your AIDS will be cured and things like that. And it wasn't true. And it really blew up for a while, but then as life didn't go the way the church was saying it would, it was shrinking a little. Meanwhile, the shanty church, they had to add on, they had to double the shanty church because, in good Lutheran fashion, they were telling the truth in love. Life is hard, but we're with you. God is with you. We're in this together. Let's help our neighbors. So again, all these are broad generalizations, but I tell those other stories about that approach because it might work for a while, but in the long run, how many of those folks are sticking with it? Or when life doesn't match what they're being told, does it all fall
They're
apart?
good at evangelism, but they don't hold up long.
Well, I work for I take care of the older lady that's 80 something, but she lives with her daughter.
Mhm.
And they're members of they're Black folks.
Mhm.
And their church is going very strong.
Yeah.
She's a shepherd, their church calls a shepherd team leader, but there are 2 or 3 of them that way, and they have portions of the congregation that they cover.
Mhm.
And apparently they have youth,
Yeah.
a lot of youth, and they're not shrinking.
Right.
Yeah, they're growing it's a black congregation, I'm pretty sure, because they're black. But
Yeah, and well, I think Martin Luther King said that the most segregated hour in the country is Sunday morning.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hold on to these thoughts, because there are some places that do have families that are growing, that are maintaining for a variety of reasons. So I want you to hold on to that, and at the end, we'll just a little bit touch on, well, what are maybe they doing that we could learn from? Because I know I'm kind of, again, broad strokes kind of knocking some of these places, but there must be something they're doing that is effective, that is touching people, that's working, or it wouldn't be drawing people in. So what can we learn from that? Okay, so let's pause that. But let's go back to the thing. All of you, I believe, grew up coming with some regularity to a congregation, but you've seen congregations shrink. You've seen it in your own families, folks that just stopped coming. Not everybody, but you've seen it around. So why do you think it is? What has changed between when you were kids or your kids were kids and now? Or and you've lived through it. So what if you have insights too? Like what is it about church? And won't take it personally. I'm probably aware of whatever's going on already. But what is it do you think that changed that maybe isn't as attractive for folks to come or that is keeping folks from coming?
One thing from when my kids were young, which my kids are older than you,
Yeah.
all Little League activities, nothing started on Sunday afternoons until like 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Mhm.
Blue laws went south.
As well, this was blue laws, this was soccer.
Yeah.
And, also, they didn't schedule things on Sunday mornings. And now, if you go by the gymnastics place that's just up the road from me and all these places, it doesn't seem to make any difference what time of day or what day of the week it is. There's
Right.
cars there. So, I think the scheduling, maybe there's some more activities, so they had to expand this. And then more women went back to work, which they weren't there to take the kids to all the stuff after school, so they had to do it on weekends.
Mm.
Or my generation of women, we worked all week, so we had to go shopping, or I didn't, but a lot of them, so Sunday was a shopping day or their day to clean their house, or because they were working Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So, my mother's generation, well, this was Iowa farm wives, I really, only one or two of them I ever knew ever worked, outside of the home.
Mhm.
But, I think the women's movement, I hate to say it, probably did do a little harm to the churches.
Yeah.
Do you think the women's movement, I'm just asking, do you think the women's movement did harm to the churches or did the churches not adapt to the changes that were happening?
Well, probably, maybe both,
Yeah.
I think to say that the women's movement did harm to the church is probably accurate, but misses the whole picture. But I was thinking the same thing Donna was saying, like, society has changed
Sure.
so much. I mean, even from when I was a kid, and well, that is a long time ago. I feel younger in my head, but it's from when my children grows to 30. We took them to church, we had them baptized, they were not confirmed, and that is my fault, I feel really bad about that. But because of the blended family thing, we made a choice to go to a church that was closer rather than, just whatever. And, but my one daughter who has these two precious little children, I'd love for her to come to church here, and I've tried to talk to her about it. And she wants her children to have that, in their lives, but she works full-time, her husband works full-time. They live out, in
Okay.
God's country with us, which is what brought us there. There's the commute, there's the work,
Sure.
it's like.
So I'm hearing a few things here. The things shifted, things got busier, things got more scheduled. Priorities shifted. It used to be just a given and an assumption, right? Everybody went to church.
Right.
And then that assumption started to fall apart for a variety of reasons. And then now, for the last few decades, the church has been trying to, turn the bus and play catch up to be like, oh, wait, it's not an assumption anymore.
I can say this though,
Yeah.
that the reason why, and this was the reason why I wasn't coming to church very often myself, was for my generation, it oftentimes feels like religion is forced onto us,
Sure.
and that drives us away.
Sure, yeah,
But, yeah. So I think that has a lot to do with it too.
I
Can I
think,
ask you a question?
yeah.
Did you feel like it was being forced on you by your parents? Or?
At times, yeah.
Because
Would
that's
that be
an
because they
expectation.
expect you to go to Sunday school?
Well, no, not just that, but it was just like every time I turned around, I was being,
Right.
told about, Christianity and stuff like that. And it just,
Over
like when I was in high school, it just kind of got annoying, but
Mhm.
now I'm out of high school and I've had like my own experience with all of it and it just feels a lot easier and better.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for letting me ask
yeah, thank you for asking.
would this feel accurate? I've noticed that as my kids have gotten older, and they're just a little younger than you, that they have a lot more choice than I ever had.
you.
Like, for instance, streaming services.
Mhm.
When I was a kid, okay, so most people had cable or satellite dish. I didn't, but even then, like, here's what's on. Streaming services, you pick what you want to watch when you want to watch. YouTube, you pick what you want to watch, you swipe the things you don't want to watch. Online gaming, like you pick what you want to do when you want to do it. Go to the grocery store, there's like 50 varieties of Cheerios. Like, I feel like the more choice people have and the more choice you have at a younger age, then I think it's natural to be like, well, why are you telling me what I should do? Is that fair or no?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
that's part of it too, but that hits everybody. Like a lot of folks, even adults, even, grandparent age, I've gotten a little more impatient over the years of, well, why isn't it the way I want it to be?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Things change so fast. When I was young to now, it's just so different now.
when you look at history, the amount of change that has happened in the last 50 years even is more than what any other generation has experienced over like
Yeah.
150.
Yeah.
Even the printing press, which was like a huge deal in the 1500s. It's not like there was that speed that we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also trying to make things more convenient for people, which, a Sunday school, you can stay at home and watch it. Church, you can stay at home and watch it. And a lot of them say they do, whether they do or not, I don't know, but they say they do. To me, that's not, I mean, I'm glad you're watching, if you're watching. But I said, oh, do you run get your wine out of the refrigerator or, went for communion and they just
My
laugh at me.
cousin does.
Oh,
Some
they
places,
actually do.
some places do communion
And to me,
online, yeah.
you're supposed to do a fellowship with each other.
Sure.
And if you're sitting in your pajamas at home, it might be comfortable, but you're not with anybody except maybe your own family.
The community piece is really important, and that's.
For
what
some
it's
families.
missing.
Is that one of the things
I
that,
mean, to keep the church together,
Yeah.
the community piece is really important, which is why we're talking about this.
would you say that that's one of the things that as you've gotten older and more independent, you making the decisions that, is that a value in coming to a faith community, is the community part?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think, not to be throwing rocks, but I think you hit on it earlier. I think, the church failed to recognize the changes that were going on and modify their position. I know here, we talked one time about doing a contemporary service and it was like,
Yeah.
No, we
yeah,
did do
yeah.
a contemporary.
well, I know, but we had
But
to do a separate one.
yeah, well, I think we had one Sunday a month was I don't remember.
Well, let me weigh in on that too.
But not too many went.
So as far as worship styles go, contemporary, traditional, some blended in between, drums and guitars or organ or piano, whatever it is. Yes, those things go in cycles. My generation was on the pendulum swing back towards preferring traditional after a couple of decades. And it's like, well, this is what we always do. Oh, this new thing, I like this better, right? But as long as whatever your worship style is, you do it well, you do it consistently. And then part of it too is folks can shop around. They can find a church that works for them. So more and more smaller churches break off slumbers. Okay, so the things we're touching on though that were of value is the things you want to bring forward, even if the shape of it is different. What was valuable? What was important? Okay, so community. What else? That you are worshiping, whatever the style of music is. You're doing this together, right?
Yeah.
What else is going to be of value to a family with their kids or teenagers that maybe they're not going to find anywhere else? What does a church have to offer that they're not going to find anywhere else? Or they're going to find a more true version or sincere version of it than anywhere else? Because you got community everywhere now, right? You got sports teams, you got clubs, you got many different types of community and bonding online, in person. So what is it about a congregation that's going to be welcoming and valuable to a family with kids and teenagers?
It's rooted in love and acceptance, or it should be, in my opinion.
Should be what?
It's rooted in love and acceptance.
One of the problems I think people overlook is that somebody has to be in the right frame of mind for any of that rings. You can have the best shop in town, and if it's not what people really want to do, you could offer anything you want, it's never going to change.
Sure.
So people have to be in the right frame of mind. My life is backwards to everybody else in this place. I never went to church as a kid.
Right.
And
I know that.
there was no church in my house. Once in a while I get sent to Sunday school, but I always felt like I was last man out. In other words, you felt guilty for showing up.
Yeah.
Because in those days, there was a stigma if you didn't go to church. And there was not too many people like my family around. So that was one reason we didn't go to church more, is because you felt guilty, and you also got the third degree basically by the eye. You
So
know?
that would be the downside of everybody goes to church. Well, for the few that didn't, then they're not going to experience what Anita just said, where it's
Yeah,
rooted
it's just
in,
the opposite.
what did you say? Welcome and
Yeah.
It's rooted in love and acceptance.
love and acceptance, right? So you're not going to experience that. So that's another factor of a lot of folks for generations. If they, on the one hand, were told, oh, church is about love and acceptance, church, Jesus is about love and acceptance. If they don't experience love and acceptance from this representative of God, then why would they keep coming back?
That's right. Exactly.
So if you have folks in a Sunday school class picking on you, if you have folks that say like, oh no, this is my pew, get out. If you have passing a piece and there's all these little cliques and you're not being invited in any way, then why would you come? So like, I'm not saying that's happening here, but those are common experiences many people have had. Or let's say you find yourself in one of those, groups that the church might have on a list to say, well, you're not welcome here. And it could either be a stated policy or an unstated attitude.
Well, the point was
Why
that
would you come?
there was never anything policy wise. It was just the culture, I guess is the way to put it. If you weren't going to church,
Oh, yeah.
there was something wrong with you.
Right.
So, yes,
You
and.
were outside the
Yeah.
door, exactly.
Yes, and, sorry, helping somebody with a tech issue.
Can I ask you a question? Did your parents go to church
Nope.
as children?
No,
What about your grandparents?
Yeah.
And they got turned off to it, or?
well, my grandparents went to church every day. They were,
Oh,
or every Sunday. They were Church of Christ. My grandparents were
Okay.
on my mom's side. I don't know about my dad's side. I haven't seen him since the
It's
'50s.
just like Church of the Brethren? Church?
No,
Yeah.
Oh, it's its own thing. Is that the ones that don't do music?
oh, they do music.
Okay, there's one that doesn't do it.
What's your roommate?
And when I went, it was a liturgical type of church they were in, and I remember very seriously, the guy was really stern to me because he wore a black robe like a professor would wear.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So it was very stern.
So I want to say yes, and there maybe wasn't a policy, but there was this expectation.
Yeah.
But there are also churches that have had and still have policies. If you are, for a while it was if you were divorced, don't come.
That's right.
If
Or don't take communion if you did.
single mothers, right? Don't come.
Yeah.
What else? LGBTQs, don't come. Abortions. If you were below a certain tax bracket, what do you have to offer? We'll help you. What are you going to do for us? There were all these sometimes stated and unstated policies. And let's add that to the families with kids. If your kid was unruly, if maybe they were on the spectrum before that, there was words for that, right? If your kid wanted to move around. Oh my gosh, a kid that wanted to move around, right? Like that still makes some people mad.
Yeah.
There's a balance, right? You don't want to disrupt worship. I mean, George was cute last week, but if we had 12 kids running around all the time, that might be distracting. But like,
But if we
How
had
do
12 kids, we'd have people keep.
we have a, we would have, right.
Yeah, so.
Do you have a, so that's a question to ask. Do we have a functional nursery? Is it attended? Is there a screen in a nursery that people could watch the service? Even if nobody shows up with babies or kids, week after week after week, the one time one does show up, are we ready for them? Is that an investment that's worth it, or a volunteer that's worth it, if nobody ever
We've
uses
done it
it?
both ways. We've had volunteers and then we've actually paid a nursery
Right.
attendant.
Right,
But, then the paid when it got to the point where so many Sundays, there was absolutely nobody there.
right, and then you have to take that into
Then,
consideration.
yeah.
So then we have the
Always
busy
about-
bags, right? Some places like All Souls has a little playground or playground area where kids can have soft, quiet toys and get out of their seats and
And
play
it's
with
up front,
supervision.
it's a play.
Theirs is up front, some places do it in the back, some places carve out a couple pews, put it in the side. So what are those types of things that when a family walks in the door, they're gonna notice, right?
Right.
Our congregation we served in California, very welcoming, lots of stuff for kids. But if you walked in, the bathrooms and the drinking fountain, kids couldn't reach it. Okay, but still, like even on that level, that nitty gritty level, what is it about what we do or don't do that is welcoming or not?
Well, I can say the facilities when I was a kid didn't really matter. I mean, it was secondary to the point when I got to be an adult or was on my own after 18.
Yeah.
The way I was raised, I didn't want nothing to do with any religion
Mhm.
because it didn't help me when I would have.
Right.
So I was, if I'm going through what I'm going through, I don't want to deal with that individual.
Yeah.
So I didn't, now religion was something far away from what I ever thought about for a long time.
Right.
I didn't start going to church until the 80s. I was in my late 30s before I went to church.
Okay, so that, yeah, I hear you, and that is the exception, but I want you to put yourself in the shoes of some parents today who are
That's the same
overscheduled.
problem, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so they got overscheduled.
Yeah.
Life is crazy all the time. Maybe you're worried about making ends meet. Because just all the demands.
Life gets in the way,
Sure,
and you
always does.
you don't want to, and they didn't want to hear about this loving God when they were going through hell.
Sure.
Where's he at? That type of thing. So, and
So,
he was vindictive like that. I didn't want to deal with it.
so let's say you walk in and you're a parent or a set of parents and you're just stressed and tired and you want to experience this loving God thing that you've heard about. When you walk in the door, are your kids welcomed or are people looking at them? When you walk in the door, is it adding to the stress or is it a little bit of a relief? Are they experiencing the loving God through the people of God? That's to me the big question to ask.
I think it's scary to walk through that door.
It is scary
And
to
I'm
walk
a pretty
through.
outgoing person, but you know, I would not have come here if my parents hadn't gone here. I wouldn't have felt like I can just walk into this place and go.
So let's say you didn't go to church for years, or maybe you've been meaning to, and like your daughter, like, well, it'd be good for that for my kids, but that's not it. Or maybe you've been before and you're like, this was not fun for me, but now maybe I want to come back. That is a huge deal to take that step through that door and put yourself out there and be vulnerable, either because you're new or you've had experiences before. So how
Like
do you
watching
receive?
where people judged him for
Sure.
not going to church,
Right.
right? That
Whether that
has
was
to
real or-
make you feel like you don't.
Whether that was real or imagined, that's how it came
Well,
across.
yes, I mean, exactly how you felt. is
So,
the important part.
All of that is in play. When that family walks through the door, when the Gooch Anderson family walked through the door the first time, they stuck with it.
Yeah.
Now they've gone to churches before. They were from North Dakota where you can't, throw a stick without
Mhm.
hitting Lutherans. Okay, I get it. But they came and they've stayed. And sometimes if you see other families with kids there, you're more inclined to stay too. Maybe if you only see one family with kids, that weirds you out a little bit, that we can't. But again, so all of that, I want you to think about all of that, and then let's read a couple Bible passages, all right? I also just want to wrap this part up with the reason why families with kids and teenagers aren't bashing down our doors. It might not have anything to do
Amen.
with us. However, if they do walk in.
Yeah.
That's touch and go.
Well, and you don't know how they want,
How they like to be.
some
Sure.
love it when people come up, I want them, and others are very embarrassed if everybody comes up to them.
Sure.
It's like, you know, you kind of have to find the middle of the road
Yeah.
to make them, you know, we're glad you're here, but don't
Don't
overdo
freak
it.
out. Yep, that's that. And I go back to what Pastor Kraus said in last week's video. Ask.
Yeah.
Listen. Oh, welcome. We're so glad you're here. What can we do to
Yeah.
make this comfortable for you? Have you been here to a church before? Is this your first time? Like, you know, we're here for you. What do you need? And then stop talking. And then listen, which is really, really hard to do. Especially if you are longing for back in the day when it used to be all these folks are like, oh, there's family, there's kids, oh,
They
it's
can grab them.
right? And you know, if you come across to what is it, thirsty?
Yeah.
What basically, when I was in my profession, I always just did the cursory, hi, how you doing? I mean, I made that, but then I sat back and listened and watched their reaction.
Yeah.
And you can tell real quick if you're in their space or not.
Yep.
Or if they want to talk. So
Yeah.
you basically you just can't walk up and everything works for everybody.
Yeah.
If you're over bubbly, they walk away from you.
Yeah.
Or if you're not very bubbly, they'll walk away from you. But you have to ask them a question. How are you today? Thanks for coming. And then stop.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Don't get aggressive at that point and find out how they want to react. And when they
Exactly.
react, you can react, say it.
and you know,
I sold a lot of,
sometimes folks will be like, oh, these friends that only come on Christmas and Easter, grumble, grumble. Well, they're here. So there must be something about church in general, this congregation in particular, whatever is happening for them, that meaningful thing that's happening for them on Christmas and Easter. And you know, those are two of the more family-friendly services out of the year, where we do extra stuff. So it's gonna look different for each group, but I'm guessing there's some similarities. But I hope we're also picking up on the fact that the things that the reason why it changed and the reason why there's aging congregations and not as many younger folks is not a single reason.
No.
There's a lot of stuff over a lot of years from a lot of different angles. Some of them are contextual to here or the region, some are the whole society. But therefore, there's probably not one simple solution or change or strategy or to, you know, to like switch it to something else or to switch it back. And I'm always uncomfortable with the switch it back because clearly something wasn't working or we wouldn't be here.
No, you can't turn back time.
No, and it's gotta be something very fundamental and wholesale, whatever adaptations we make to our welcome. And it's gonna be hard, because who likes to change?
one of the things I saw in the fifties and early sixties was that I think a lot of people went to church because of the stigma of not going to church.
Yeah.
It was a
because
social
I felt that-
expectation.
I felt that directly, and there was a lot of people who went to church that wouldn't have went if they didn't have that stigma on it. In other words, shame on you.
And so kids pick up on things, right? Kids are little sponges. So if the attitude of the adults, even if it's not expressed in words, if the attitude of the adults is, we're going because we have to,
That's
we're
what-
going because of obligation.
Yes.
The kids are gonna absorb that on some level. And if you're telling them, I know you don't wanna go, but we have to go too, or no, get up and go. I'm the weird kid who, yeah, my mom had to get me out of bed some Sundays, but I'm the weird kid who liked going and went, and made connections and found people. Most of the folks in my confirmation class, I don't think are still going to church. You know? So, okay, let's read some Bible. If you wanna follow along, go for it. I'm gonna just read them because we talked a lot and we're running out of time. And I talk too fast anyway, so here we go. Luke chapter 2. We'll start with Luke chapter 2, 41 to 51. Alright. Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. You know, they probably had synagogues and stuff, but this was the big one. He went to the temple. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents were unaware of this. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went into his journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. Yeah, they didn't have a car seat to strap him into. You traveled as a group, way easier to get lost in the shuffle. When they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. After 3 days, no symbolism there, right? They found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. and all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished, and his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously looking for you." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them, and his mother treasured all these things in her heart. Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human faith. Okay. What does this teach us? Now, granted, different culture, different society, different time period, different language, different everything. Children, we've talked about before, I've sermonated about it, we've talked about it in here before. Children were not valued in the same way that they are now, right? They weren't seen as individuals that you're trying to nurture and grow until they were able to like take over the family business or step into the work. It was just, okay, your mouth, I gotta feed and I gotta train you up, right? It wasn't, children were a strain, children weren't like precious moments spells, right? Not that they weren't loved, but it was not the same.
Seen and not heard.
Seen and not heard was a very much a church thing too. So, but what about this passage teaches us about what Jesus and what God would like us to know about having kids and youth in worship? He's 12, right in that tween. So what are some things you pick up on in this that teach us about having kids and youth in our, bodies of worship?
They have questions.
And questions. Yeah. Great. And they answered this question.
And to be treated
Yeah.
as if their questions are
Yep.
worthy of a well-developed answer.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's not the Mickey Mouse here, right? The kids aren't on the edge.
right?
He's sitting there in the temple with everybody. So how do we integrate all ages into what we do? Worship, fellowship, service, education. One of them.
Well, it always amazed me that, the elders didn't ask, "So where are your parents?"
Sure.
It's just, certain part of the day, it wouldn't have been an issue, but then you get out toward mealtime or bedtime or whatever, it was like, hey, their kid's still here.
Yeah. But that's important because that teaches us something too, that it is a bigger version of family. And so you work with your congregation so that everybody knows everybody's here for everybody. Maybe kids aren't your thing, but it doesn't mean you're going to be rude to them, right? Or you're still going to help and love them. You're still going to show them that they're important. Also, that's why we do, anybody who works with youth on a regular basis, and we probably need to be better at this, but that's why the Synod does background checks. So you're there to protect these kids too, so that anybody who's working with them and has an active, especially one-on-one role with them, has been cleared. So that nothing that could happen, nothing's going to happen that's going to hurt them or undercut their faith if trust is broken. Right? So that this is one big family unit. You want to go sit with somebody else in church? Go for it. Yeah, come sit with us. You want to give the parents a break so they can hear the sermon or have a breather? Go for it. The kids have a bunch of surrogate grandparents and aunts and uncles. That's amazing. Let's do that. Right? So intergenerational, we're all in this together, right? That's the love and, what did you say? Love and acceptance. That's part of it. I don't know why I can't remember what you said, but anything else from this one? Yeah. Part of the significance is that he's 12, right? It's the year before the traditional bar mitzvah. So
No, boys are 12, aren't they?
I
Or
thought
is
it's
it
13.
girls?
I think it's 13 for everybody. Yeah,
There's a difference between boys and girls. Remember, I have that very,
that's right.
and that is the Orthodox way.
Okay.
And I don't remember which way it goes. I think girls.
Yeah.
Well, I
It
don't.
said Jesus said at the age when a young Jewish boy is expected to show the ability to enter into living and studying Torah or God's teachings.
So like confirmation class, you're in the
Yeah, it's
field.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
So everything we do can't just be, we'll go to confirmation class because you're old enough, you have to go to confirmation class. So why? Sometimes you just go because you go, okay. But also the world we live in, okay, well, this is why it's important. This is why we learn these things. What are the values? Don't just wait and expect them to know. Tell them. Okay, so that's one. Let's do Matthew 15. Right, Matthew 15, 21 to 28. Oh, this is a good conversation. We're running out of time. So Matthew 15, 21 to 28. Jesus left that place and went away to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Sorry. Just then, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting, "Have mercy on me, Lord, son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But he did not answer her at all. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, "Send her away, for she keeps shouting after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But she came and knelt before him, saying, "Lord, help me." He answered, "It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." She said, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus answered her, "Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish." And her daughter was healed from that. Okay? What do we learn from this one?
There was some,
It's not inclusive, or it is, it should be inclusive.
It should be inclusive. Who should be turned away?
No one.
Right.
I remember your sermon on this before, and this has always made me uncomfortable, but I was able to hear it and go, okay, it's gonna turn out okay.
Yeah, but it's tough when you feel like you have to do damage control on the gospel, but context is important. But yeah, what were you gonna say, Jeffrey?
no, that's the gist of it. I mean, is it, even Jesus expressed that a little bit of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
What,
says she-
you're not part of the right club.
right, it says she encounters rejection and insult from Jesus and the disciples.
However,
Jesus was sent only for Israelites.
Jesus did a lot of things that were shocking, and this is one of them. And he's challenging her, and then she expresses faith,
Mhm.
and that's an illustration of it's your faith that will heal you.
Which teaches us also we need to listen.
Mhm.
Even if our first reaction is, "Oh, not you,"
Uh-uh.
we need to listen. And we need to see the faith in others, even if it doesn't look like our faith.
Mhm.
We might have to risk conforming to others to be welcoming and not just expect others to conform to how we do things. And also that people need help, right? Parents need help, kids need help. If they're not going to find it here, then what are we doing?
Mhm.
All right. Next up, Matthew 19, a couple pages later. Matthew 19, 13 to 15. Wait, that can't be right. Those verses don't match. Oh, that's 18, that's why. Matthew 19, 13 to 15. Then children were being brought to him in order that he might lay hands on them and pray. The disciples spoke sternly to those who brought them. But Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. Do not stop them, for it is to such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs." And that is not the same thing as saying, well, the children are the future of the church. No, the children are part of the church right now. Right? So come, let them be blessed. Let them have hands laid on them. Don't turn them away. Don't say, "Oh, you gotta wait." You know? Let the children come. Do not stop them, for it is to such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs. That will belong to right now. You can't just wait and say, well, send them to Sunday school so they're out of the way, or send them to, what was it, gospel fun time, which I'm sure was great, but sending kids out of worship also sends a message. Like, no, you need to leave while the adults do their thing. That sends a message too. And not that we don't also listen to the older folks who might be distracted, but there's got to be an in-between where everybody can be there. And it says he laid his hands on them and went away. And then back to 18, 1 through 5. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a child whom he put among them and said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever becomes humble like this child is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." So clearly, Jesus put a priority on kids that most of the rest of society did. And that teaches us something too. Not again because, they're the future of the church, and they're the church right now. And I think that's something churches messed up on for a long time. Because a lot of churches went with that Mickey Mouse ear model. Send them to youth group. Even something as simple as, and I know we've all said this, that's a project the youth could do. Well, maybe that's a project the youth could be a part of. Where there's also adults there. We're doing this together, not where it feels like, we're just sticking you with the chores we don't want.
And that was called,
And that's a language thing, right? That's just the words.
but like when I was a kid, it was a cultural thing.
Right.
My mom would throw me out of the house at 8 o'clock in the morning and not be back until dinner.
Yeah, but that is not the case now.
I mean, what are you doing back here? Get outside.
Right.
So So it was a cultural thing,
Sure.
kids be seen and not heard, I don't wanna mess with you, get out of here.
That's not the case anymore.
No, but I mean,
I
that,
don't think it was the case with all people.
but that
No,
was,
not all people.
but that was, it's a culture in the farming country,
Not
they
just
didn't
the
have time
farms.
for you.
Not just the farms. Liz tells stories about go out and play in the canals, because that's the neighborhood she had.
Yeah,
And when the streetlights come on, you come home.
that's what Mark says too, exactly, like, that's what their parents said, come back when the streetlights come on.
Okay, so each of these can show us a little bit.
Streetlights.
They can teach us in terms of God's attitude towards children and youth, especially in terms of welcome. Love and acceptance, welcome. If you're as a family come in and everything seems nice and everybody's friendly, but on some level, there's not that welcome, there's not that feeling of listening, building a relationship. If it's just, oh, we're glad you're here, have a seat, do what we do. That only lasts so long. What have we learned since the Bible in terms of development, etc.? And the teachers could speak to this, we don't have time. But we've learned a lot about childhood development, mentally, psychologically, physically, kids, youth. Pull back in last week, disabilities, folks with autism, folks with other learning disabilities. The standard models don't always apply to everybody. We can't expect Sunday school teachers to learn about IEPs and everything either, but we can try to be welcoming and all work together. The whole point of Luther's small catechism was that people didn't know the faith, so let me make something so that people in their homes together, parents and family and children, are learning about the faith together, and the church and the family work together. The church supports the family's faith at home, and the family comes and supports the congregation, and it's supposed to be this symbiotic thing. All right, let me do a couple quick shares before we run out of time. It's this one. All right, so I just want to show, this is partly also want to just show off some of the resources our denomination and our synod has, because a lot of folks have been working on this kind of stuff for years and decades and have a lot of experience, and we can learn from them. So ELCA has a youth ministry page with a bunch of links in here, right? Including outdoor ministries, camps. This one is the ELCA Youth Ministry Network, which looks like this, which is for folks who work with youth. You can join this network full of resources. You can work with each other. You can share ideas, all this stuff. So there's a whole youth ministry network for folks who work with youth. There's outdoor ministries, camps. There's campus ministries, because it's not like it stops when you graduate school, right? There's that flow. This one is ELCA Young Adult Ministry. So, early adulthood, late teens, early 20s. There's Facebook, there's Instagram. There's also children's ministry. So this has links to a lot of the other things, including youth gatherings, although that's for teens. Augsburg Fortress and Spark House, like the Spark House picture Bible thing that maybe you've seen. It's great. So there's resources our church puts out there for families to use in their homes and for churches to use. Curriculum, Bibles, books, all sorts of things. There's colleges, there's all sorts of things. There's also this one. There's Reverend Dave Delaney, Pastor Dave from the Synod office. He is retiring, but boy, does our Synod do a lot. In Virginia Synod, ministry with youth and young adults has been a high priority for generations. We seek to build Christian community among youth. That's what he starts every event with. We're here to build and experience an intentional Christian community. Provide opportunities for faith sharing and faith nurturing, relationships between adults and youth, strengthen congregations in their faith formation ministries with young people, call our youth to be leaders and strong disciples. We've got some folks that volunteer in worship, but we could do more. Like we could have more kids and youth doing more things in worship and letting them be up front and experience what that's like. And then they're serving the adults, and that makes a huge impact on folks. We're working on that one.
We used to, when I was a kid
Yeah.
back in Maryland, I would staff the nursery.
Yeah.
The young,
Yeah.
mostly young women. I mean, guys could have done it.
Sure.
back then, that wasn't such a thing.
Yeah.
But involving them not only in worship itself,
Yeah.
but certainly that,
I mean,
but also in other volunteer positions.
Stuart Williams was one of the 10 people on the audit team this last year.
What? See,
Yeah, he's been studying some finance classes. Heather said, well, I'll ask him if he wants to. And he said he was game, and so the other two who'd done it before walked him through the process, his signature's on the audit report. It was a good experience for everybody. And that, I wish that wasn't the exception. But we've got all the different youth events that the Synod puts on. And then there's also, I don't know if this is on the screen share, but there's the Five Petal Friday email that goes out every other week to anybody in the Virginia Synod who wants it about youth ministry. So, uh-oh. Sorry, I got to move the camera just a little because I can't get to the button to stop the screen share. There we go. So there's a lot of resources out there, and there's a lot of people doing work on this. Oh, shoot, I left one thing off. Okay, back to the screen share. So the ELCA recently did this thing called God's Love Made Real. And it was sort of this big inventory of where we're at and what we could do to try to change and grow. And here's some of the things that they had. Embodying commitment number 3. This is one of the commitments they made. Listening to and amplifying young voices, because there's a recognition that if young folks aren't a part now of the life of the church, why would they bother?
right, I
Right?
wouldn't feel like.
So-
it's all-
Meaningful leadership roles, creating brave spaces. What do they mean by that? Feeling like they belong no matter what, that they can be themselves. Okay. Intergenerational connections. We've been doing that a little bit with VBS and other things, doing stuff with all age groups, meeting young people where they are, and the path forward. So those are all things at the denominational level that they've said are important. We got to figure out how to translate those into our congregation at this level. Okay, just to wrap it up. So we got scripture, we got tradition, more modern understanding of the way brains work and things like that. We've got awareness of the present context and some awareness of how we got to be where we are. We have the values of the past that we know are important that we'd like to carry forward. But we also have to be aware that the form of it can't be idolized, right? Like we can't just do what worked before because it worked before. So, as you go into worship today, as we do decorating, as you walk around the building today, listen to the words, listen, look around, put yourself in the shoes and the mindset of a kid, a teenager, a parent of a kid or a teenager, and just wonder, how welcoming are we? And I want you to assess and not move right to fixes. We'll talk about things we can do week 4, just like last time. But think of yourself, think of others, folks you know. Think of yourself at various ages and stages of your life. Think about the folks that are already here, and especially think of the folks that aren't here. Think about the kids and the grandkids. Think about your neighbors. Think about young Roger who wanted nothing to do with it because of all the hypocrites and all the judgment, right? So put yourself in the shoes of these different perspectives. And what areas and aspects require further preparation on our part to welcome. So, sorry this time I talked more. Usually we get more discussion, but there was a lot to share. We had some good conversations, but I appreciate y'all, and next week we'll have one more group to consider, and then the week 4 we'll start trying to brainstorm together. Like, well, what preparations can we make to be more welcoming to these groups and to any. Thanks.
Thank you.
Actually, there's one thing that I would have thought would have helped